found getting feedback from my numerous drafts really useful, as this helped me to improve on the negatives and also the positive comments. So for my first draft viewing, the positives were that they really loved the sign language scene and they wanted to see more of that. So I took that on board, and which I was going to pass on to my second draft. And also I was really pleased to hear that my theme of communication was very obvious to them. However, some of the negatives were that I'd used far too many narratives, for example Braille and a girl on the phone, and it confused them a bit. They wasn't sure whether this was really necessary or not, because it also detracted from who the bully was and they wanted to find that out. So taking this on board, I used this in my second draft to think about adding in more of the sign language scenes and removing the scenes which wasn't that necessary, for example the girl on the phone and the Braille. So using the feedback, I created my chorus for my music video, the girl, using sign language, although I deliberately didn't sync the music in correct time with the actions, as I wanted this to show lack of communication, as lack of communication can come from anywhere. A girl on the phone, her phone dies, talking to a friend and then she has to cough. It's a little thing like that shows lack of communication. And which is what I also wanted to reflect, that nothing ever runs smoothly. I decided to emphasise the bully was the girl on the computer by using a cross dissolve of the girl, the victim and the bully crossing over, their faces crossing over, which emphasised it was the girl on the computer. And I also added in more images of the girl on the computer. So from doing this, I then showed my second draft, and they loved the strong scenes of the sign language as my chorus. That worked really well. However, they were unsure whether I deliberately synced the music out of time, or was it just a mistake and I just let that blow over. So this is something I really needed to work on. I wanted it to be obvious to the audience that it was deliberate, because I didn't want them to watch and think it was just a little mistake. The positives were that they were able to tell it was the girl on the computer. However, the images were there were far too many images of her on the computer, and they wanted to see more of the different types of communication, but not so much it confused them. So taking this all on board, for my third draft, I decided to add back in the girl on the phone and the Braille, but at the beginning of the scene, where I have a mixture of communication and then the narrative flows more smoothly towards the end. I also cut these scenes down immensely, as it was only a snippet, but to show that the communication was there. I also decided to remove some of the scenes of the girl on the computer, however kept the dissolve in scene in particular, as I found that was a great way to reinforce that it was her. I have been having some trouble with trying to tell the audience that it was deliberate about the out of sync. However, I decided to create a mind map of what is obvious, that it is lack of communication. What makes a lack of communication? From not seeing something, from not making sense of something. So I played around with blurring the image, which didn't work at all. However, I'm pleased I've done that, because I now know that it didn't work, although I've tried it. You were unable to even tell that she was sign language, and I wanted to still show sign language through my music video. So I decided to then mirror her body to the bottom of the screen, so her face was at the top and bottom, so they didn't know where to look, and that was where the lack of communication was reinforced. Overall, I'm really happy for my feedback from my audience, both negative and positive. I'm really happy that my theme of communication came through, and I'm pleased that I've got a very strong narrative now.